हम लोगों को बहुत संघर्ष करना पड़ा। हम सुप्रीम कोर्ट का आज हम सम्मान करते हैं कि इस डांस बार के इसमें इतनी खुशी है ना कि आज हम अपने पैरों पे खड़े होकर आज अपना मतलब कमा सकते हैं।
आप यहाँ बैठ के देखिए किस तरीके से क्या होता है। गाना चलता है, लड़की मेहनत करती है, डांस करती है, अपना घर परिवार चलाती है। ये जो फैसला जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने दिया है, मैं उसके लिए थैंक यू कहती हूँ।
Well, there are two sides to the argument. On one side, there are those who believe that dance bars at one point in the 90s in Mumbai was simply a den of vice, where drugs were peddled, which was a gateway to prostitution, and where the women who worked were fundamentally exploited. And then there is the argument that this is just a profession, a way of life, and it is these women's right to livelihood that should be upheld. How do you feel about it? Pick up the phone and call us. But in the studio with me, Rajiv Mishra, who's an RTI activist, Pradeep Deshmukh of the NCP, Dr. Sunay Kantawala is a senior lawyer, Aftab Ahmed Khan, former IPS officer, Yogesh Pawar, senior journalist, and Rahul Ishwar, who's an activist. I want to start with Yogesh Pawar. Yogesh, you've tracked this. Okay, so hang on. We also have our reporter who's live right now in a dance bar in Mumbai. Siddharth is live. Siddharth, what is the mood like at this point? And I understand you've spoken with the owner of the dance bar. So obviously they'd welcome this decision of the Supreme Court.
Well, absolutely, Faye. This is a big day for them. It's been like 13 years when then Home Minister R.R. Patil decided to put ban on dance bar, and it has been a legal battle, roller coaster ride for them. It's a big day for all of them. And as they have always been saying that this fight is not just for the dance bar, opening of a dance bar or revenue generation. This fight is for those women, those who have been in this industry from so many years, and it's about their bread and butter. I'm being joined by owner of the dance bar. We'll be talking to him. Sir, ये जो पूरा फैसला आया है, इसको आप किस तरह से देखते हैं? दो सबसे महत्वपूर्ण प्रश्न यहाँ पर ये हैं, क्या डांस बार रेजिडेंशियल एरिया से बाहर ले जाना चाहिए? दूसरा, क्या डांस बार प्रोस्टिट्यूशन को बढ़ावा देता है? ये सवाल इस फैसले के बाद सब कोई पूछ रहा है देश में।
पहले मैं सुप्रीम कोर्ट का न्यायपीठ का ये शुक्रिया अदा करना चाहता है। और ये मुद्दा है 13 साल से चल रहा है। मेन क्या ये बार वाले का पेट का सवाल है, और बार मालिकों या बार स्टाफ का, और बार एसोसिएशन आर वाले ने 13 साल से लड़ रहे हैं। हम लोग को बहुत अच्छा डिसीजन दिया है सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने, उसके लिए हम लोग।
लेकिन आपको क्या लगता है कि इससे प्रोस्टिट्यूशन बढ़ता है? इज इट अ गेटवे टू प्रोस्टिट्यूशन?
इसमें प्रोस्टिट्यूशन का जैसा कोई काम इधर होता नहीं। हम लोग ये कुछ भी है, हम कोई ग्राहक को हम लोग जबरदस्ती इधर कोई आके लेके जाके हम लोग एंटरटेन नहीं करता है। किसको इच्छा है वही आके आता है। हम लोग कोई एंटरटेनमेंट बोले तो बाहर का अंदर
सिर्फ डांस होता है। सो फे, दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू अंडरस्टैंड बिकॉज वन सेक्शन ऑफ सोसाइटी स्टिल बिलीव्स दैट दिस इज अ गेटवे टू प्रोस्टिट्यूशन, वेयर ऑन द अदर एंड द पीपल दोज हु सपोर्ट डांस बार्स इन मुंबई से दैट दिस स्टॉप्स प्रोस्टिट्यूशन बिकॉज हियर women come, dance and get paid, get money for that. There's no prostitution involved in this industry. So this is what they have to say. Yeah.
Well, Siddharth, for our viewers from around the country who perhaps have never been inside a Mumbai dance bar, would you show us what it looks like? Are there people there tonight? Is it what does the space look like on the inside?
Well, absolutely, Faith. So this is a dance bar. This is how dance bar looks like. This is Mumbai dance bar. You have LED flashy lights, and which are on after so many years. And you can see these lights, and these lights are used while dancing. You can see this orchestra set, this TV LED lights. This is how dance bar looks like, and these are the sofas where people sit. And this is a floor. So this is a floor where dance takes place and people enjoy. So this is how is the setup of a dance bar. And you can see, Faith, today this order has come, and this is 8 in the evening, but nobody has arrived so far. The music is on, lights are on, display is on, but nobody has arrived. So now these dance bar owners also have a demand that court, and they will again move to court for that because court has asked them to shut the dance bar at 11:30 in the night. So now they are demanding 1 hour extension because they believe that clients and customers come at 10. Am I right, sir? 10 बजे के बाद ग्राहक आते हैं।
एक्चुअली 10 बजे के बाद ही ग्राहक आते हैं। वो लोग का काम धंधा छोड़ के फ्री होने का टाइम 10 तो बजते ही।
तो आप चाहते हैं 1 घंटा और बढ़ाया जाए?
हाँ, वो लोग हम लोग 1.5 घंटे में ऐसा कोई बड़ी काम नहीं कर पाएगा, बिजनेस नहीं कर पाएगा। हम लोग 1 घंटा और बढ़ा के।
आज पहला दिन है, लाइट्स ऑन है और म्यूजिक आपने लगा, लेकिन कोई ग्राहक नहीं दिख रहा है हमें यहाँ पे। अब धीरे धीरे बिजनेस बढ़ाएंगे।
अभी हम लोग बिजनेस बढ़ाने के लिए बारे में सोचेंगे। अभी तक तो बहुत तकलीफ से हम लोग चला रहे हैं, एक रोजी रोटी चलना चाहिए बोल के इसको चला रहे हैं। अभी आगे सोचेंगे हम लोग बिजनेस बढ़ाने के लिए।
So as you can see, Faye, this is the situation of dance bars in Mumbai. There used to be a times where crores rupees were used to get showered in one night in Mumbai dance bar. But after the ban in 2005, there were several complaints from the section of society that the society is
Well,
getting
Siddharth,
spoiled.
last
R.R.
question.
Patil was the home minister at that point in time, and this came like a
Yes,
yeah.
sorry. Siddharth, there was a question, of course, about obscene dances which would not be permitted. Now, the word obscene is subject to interpretation. What is obscene to you may not be obscene to me, and the other way around. So, what have the dance bar owners understood this as? How are they going to follow this rule?
Well, definitely, let me take that question to him as well. Sir, obscene, अभद्रता जिसे कहते हैं हिंदी में, उसका एक काफी लंबी बहस चली है उसकी सुप्रीम कोर्ट में कि अश्लील क्या है समाज के लिए। कुछ लोगों के लिए जो चीज अश्लील होती है वो कुछ के लिए नहीं होती है। आपके पैमाने से, आपकी समझ के हिसाब से अश्लीलता क्या है? क्योंकि सुप्रीम कोर्ट पे भी इसको लेके काफी लंबी बहस चली है।
ये अश्लीलता बारे में हम लोग ये फ्लोर में ऐसा कोई बात नहीं होता है, जैसा ओपन टीवी शो में चलता है ऐसा। इधर कोई अश्लीलता होता ही नहीं
जी।
वो चैलेंज है। कभी ऐसा ये इसको खाली इश्यूज बनाया, अश्लीलता हो रहा है, कुछ तो मुद्दा चाहिए।
एक बार इससे पहले भी बहस आई थी कि 5 स्टार्स में डांस अलाउ कर देते हैं और डांस बार में नहीं करते हैं। उसी तरह का डांस होता है। तो अश्लील के पैमाने, तब डांस बार ओनर्स ने बोला था अश्लील के पैमाने 5 स्टार के लिए अलग रहते हैं और हमारे लिए अलग रहते हैं।
एक्चुअली हम लोग अश्लीलता नाम का चीज कभी ये डांस फ्लोर के अंदर हुआ ही नहीं, ना होगा।
Okay. So as you can see, he is unable to define, but he has to say, and this was a point given in court. I still remember a few years back that the benchmark for obscenity, as you are mentioning, Faye, is can't be different for 5 stars hotel and can't be different for these Mumbai dance bars. So this is something which is really important, and these owners also want government to levy taxes on them so that even government can also get revenue out of this big industry, which there is a possibility now that this industry can flourish again in Mumbai city. Over to you, Faye.
All right, Siddharth, many thanks for that update. Yogesh Pawar in the studio with me. Yogesh, you've tracked this story for a very long time. Are you in favor of the dance bars now effectively reopening because the restrictions that were imposed on them by the government were so hard that they almost couldn't function as a business?
Well, I mean, it's a welcome decision that the government, but this is not the first time that the courts have stepped in to say that the dance bars can be open. But you will notice that the government has always dragged its feet because it sort of comes from this patriarchal mindset of looking at this whole thing as immoral and seeing these women as being a bad influence on society and stuff like that. So there will always be this kind of a pushback from the government side because once they've taken the step of getting them shut, now to get them open again will mean that they will have to go back and tell people why they are taking this kind of a stand. So they are going to drag their feet as far as possible on allowing this to happen. On some of the nicer things that you said, like you mentioned a little while ago, the courts have insisted that there should be a contract to ensure that there's no exploitative paradigm that operates in this. And that is, I think, one of the nicest things here. It is in light of the fact that there were these people traffickers who brought women in and pushed them into dancing in bars. This is wrong, and I feel that, but because there were some women who were trafficked, you cannot go around saying that you want a blanket intervention strategy of saying that you want to bring in all the women and out of that profession and take them elsewhere. And how are you going to give them livelihoods? What are you going to do to give them a way to make a living? And that the government doesn't seem to have an answer to.
Pradeep Deshmukh of the NCP joins us right now. Deshmukh जी हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए बहुत धन्यवाद. NCP हमेशा डांस बार्स की विरोध ही लड़ी थी. आप बताइए ये आज की सुप्रीम कोर्ट के जजमेंट के बारे में आपका क्या राय है?
Ex-Deputy CM, late Mr. R.R. Patil had taken a decision of banning all the dance bars in Mumbai because many youths and their families had become bankrupt because of the attraction and addiction to this dance bars culture. And mostly of the youth were from the rural areas. And it's very bad for Maharashtra's health because that time, what is the problem in the society? महाराष्ट्र में बहुत सारे लैंड डेवलपमेंट्स हो रहे हैं. छोटे से लैंड भी अगर बेचे तो उसमें बहुत सारे पैसे मिल जाते हैं. रूरल एरिया के यूथ्स वो पैसे उड़ाने के लिए एक एक कई इंसिडेंट्स तो इतने बुरे हुए हैं कि माँ बाप को मारकर उनके पास से पैसा चुरा कर लड़के उधर मजा करने के लिए डांस बार में आए हुए हैं. इट्स वेरी हार्मफुल फॉर आवर सोसाइटी. और आर पाटिल जी अगर ऊपर से कहीं देख रहे हैं तो उनके आत्मा को आज बहुत कष्ट हुआ होगा. इट्स वेरी बैड थिंग फॉर महाराष्ट्र.
It's very bad. You want to quickly respond to this
Yeah,
before I bring
I
in the
wanted
rest?
to respond to this that, you know, while he's saying that there were instances, he's bringing on specific instances of people indulging in crime and fratricide, matricide to get money and then come and use them in bars. But if you go by that rule, then you will have to look at shutting down just about all sale of alcohol, all sale of cigarettes, all sale of, so because those are leading to it. The figures have proven, research has shown that so many people die of cancer because of smoking. Are you going to then go and say that you're going to stop complete all ban on cigarette sale? You're not doing that. But here the women who are trying to make a decent living by dancing there of their own volition, their own agency, you are trying to hit
Yes.
back against them because they are an easy target to hit back against. And this is, I think, sort of a veiled way of patriarchy trying to set the agenda. And this, I think, should be fought back the hardest possible way. Women have taken this shit for a very long time, and they should not be allowed to be exploited like this. This is actually
But
exploitative.
on the question of crime, let me bring in Aftab Ahmed Khan. Mr. Khan is a former IPS officer here in Mumbai. Mr. Khan, what is your point of view of the argument that dance bars used to be dens of vice, and there would be people with addictions, there would be people who were peddling drugs, there would be members of the underworld who would use these locations to meet. Do you think that all of that will happen again if the bars were reopened?
Frankly, that's not confined only to dance bars.
Yes.
People from the underworld, people from the criminal sector, they have other avenues which are perhaps not apparent, where they spend the money. I have a feeling that I always felt that the dance bars were extremely useful to us in the police. We managed to get a lot of information. In fact, I distinctly remember one very important arrest we made of the absconding accused in the shooting of a criminal called Haldankar. This Haldankar was blatantly shot in JJ hospital, and the accused were absconding. We had tried all over to try and nab them, but then we got information that they would frequent one particular dance bar. We laid a trap there, and without any resistance, they were so absorbed in the dance bar, we managed to get them. I think it's a brilliant decision by the Supreme Court, and I'm very happy that they've imposed restrictions like humiliation of women. It cannot be done with the throwing of money on them. There's no exploitation because there's a cut-off time at 11:30, or perhaps the fellows want an hour more. That's a debatable point. But I always felt that we got excellent information from dance bars. If a chap was throwing money, very frankly, if he was a small-time criminal throwing money, we always went and investigated his background. Where did he get the money from? How did he suddenly get into so much of money? There's no such thing that there were drugs peddled or anything of that sort. Drugs could be peddled outside schools and outside liquor shops. I've seen drugs being peddled in Warsaw under trees in housing societies. So this is just someone's made it a prestige issue and tried to find ways of justifying a very stupid decision. Let me say that.
Dr. Sujay Kantawala is a senior lawyer. Do you believe that the right to livelihood in this case of the women in question trumps all of the other arguments?
Yeah, in fact, if you see, there is a right to livelihood not only of the dancers who are performing, Faye, but also of the waiters, the drivers who are doing the valet service, the servers, and everyone. It's a whole industry, it's a whole ecosystem over there. And now that the Supreme Court has paved the way, I'm sure that necessary precautions will be taken by the bar owners because they don't want to foul in some way or the other. And I'm sure that this is going to generate a lot of revenue. But let me tell you one thing, on all the counts, if you say patricide, matricide, this leads dance bars cause these kind of issues. I don't agree with that, because now we are post demonetization, so there is hardly any cash what the government says in the system. So I'm sure that now that the splurging of cash and throwing of cash and coins is stopped and only tips are allowed, that would decrease. Also, secondly, I don't think that obscenity thing also worked. So on all fronts, the government has not been able to justify as to how and on what basis that they try to sustain this kind of a ban, because this kind of a ban is completely unworkable. In Supreme Court, I must appreciate the honorable judges. They have understood the practicality of the city. They have said that this 1 kilometer radius within an educational institution or a religious place, also this kind of prohibition would not be workable for Mumbai city, and various other things. As far as timing is concerned, I agree with the owners that at 10:30 would be too short a time, because dance bar is a place where people come to relax and to get entertained, and that would, the offices in Mumbai city, as you know, 9:30 people are working, so that would be too short, but that's ultimately for the honorable Supreme Court to decide. But
Yes.
I welcome this decision. I am sure that this decision will go a long way in creating more and more employment.
Well, the time period is 6 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. Also, statements from Rahul Ishwar. Rahul Ishwar is an activist. Rahul Ishwar, where do you stand on this matter of dance bars? And we do know now that dance bars is no longer a purely Mumbai culture. It is a culture that's spread to other parts of the country as well.
Any nation survives on an ethical framework and paradigm and the culture that particular nation has. We all understand that people who are in need of money go to these dance bars and perform there. But can we forget the sexploitation that is happening there? There are many nations that endorse sex tourism. Does that mean if sex tourism gives us more money and pumps in more money to the economy, that is justified? So the employment aspect, we understand, we empathize with that particular argument. At the same point of time, the cultural and ethical framework of a nation cannot be compromised. We are a Gandhian state. Even Article 47, we have even directive principles regarding alcohol and so many other things. What happens with the ultra liberals or the ultra left liberals is they discard and discount the ethical framework of a nation, the basic spiritual framework of a nation, and they have all the contempt for it. And they have that snobbery, that's an inherent leftist snobbery they have, and they feel anything and everything regarding unethical practices are justified in the name of liberalism. Even see this possibility, 1 kilometer from the radius of a school, there are many school or college children that can be misguided, that can be misled. At that point of impressionable age, there can be issues with them. So it is a gateway to prostitution. We all know that classical dance.
No, okay, so all right, Rahul Ishwar. But I'm just going to bring about an economic point. You did say, and very rightly, you said only someone who really needs the money will pick this job. So what happens then when we throw all of these people out of jobs, and they were in desperate need of the money to begin with? They picked the job because they didn't get any other job. And if we haven't found solutions for those women, and these are all specifically women, what happens to them? But Yogesh Pawar, cultural, ethical, spiritual framework of the country. Do you want to address that?
Yeah, I wanted to bring that up. The cultural framework, ethical framework of the country somehow doesn't seem to factor in the underprivileged woman. Of women who come from scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, women who come from the Nat community, largely many of them from Rajasthan, who are in this profession. Now, these women have, historically been exploited, put into a position where they don't have agency over their own bodies on what they want to do. Here, people like Rahul Ishwar want to take a stand and then use the might of a moral argument to again rob them of agency over their own bodies and what they want to do with it. And this is, I think, wrong. And when he talks about sex tourism, then this is in no way related to sexual service. Very often, as someone who has reported on this issue, let me tell you that these women just stand there and they sway to the music. They're not even dancing. They're gyrating, they're swaying to the music. And it is the shutting down of these dance bars which has pushed several of them into the most harrowing kind of sex work. And this is something that needs to be looked at. the fact that this Honorable Supreme Court has reversed this decision comes as a hope for these women. An entire generation has lost it, but now we'll have to relook at this issue so that we ensure that there is justice for them.
You know, belly dancing in the Middle East is a celebrated art form. Kathak is a celebrated art form, or was a celebrated art form. In our country, somehow there seems to be some sort of a divide of just money between that and this. But Sujay Kantawala put his hand up, and Dr. Kantawala, here's my question to you. Rahul Ishwar did say that it is a question of morality at the end of the day. I personally find a lot of what we call item numbers in Bollywood to be perhaps more worrying and more obscene as something that leaves an impression on younger people and our children than what happens in dance bars, because it's a closed group. You can actually, the government can bring in even more stringent rules saying that not just 18, 24, we won't let you in until you're 24 years old. We will see your Aadhaar card and we will check your biometrics and all of that. But the question of it being a bad influence on society. Dr. Kantawala.
Not at all, Faye, not at all. If you see some of the Bhojpuri films that are coming out, you will be ashamed to even see that. That is terrible. Now, let me tell you, in a city like Dubai, okay, it's an emirate, and they have the Sharia law. Even they have dance bars over there. So this is regulated. This is a revenue earner. When you are talking of a commercial capital of India, where people from all over the world come, and you are talking about opening up 24 hours malls, restaurants, etc., then you can't, kind of ignore this part, this segment of the entertainment part, because there would be clients, there would be customers who would want to watch a couple of these cultural dances. What is wrong in that? And what is wrong in having a drink or two while watching them? It's all entertainment, and that is what is the whole business. You are talking about making Mumbai like Dubai, New York, London, etc. Then you cannot say that this is going to promote sex tourism, etc. These girls are in a respectable profession. They have the talent of dancing. What is wrong in them performing? They are only performing for the customers. You can't curtail their freedom, and that is the guaranteed freedom under Article 19(1)(g). That's the end of it.
Right, Rajiv Mishra, your argument, please.
फिर मैं तो सबसे पहले आपको ये बता दूं कि भारतीय संस्कृति में नृत्य, संगीत और गीत ये शुरू से रहे हैं। इसका मैं कभी भी विरोध नहीं कर सकता कि नृत्य, संगीत और गीत का इम्पोर्टेंस रहा है। और नृत्य, संगीत और गीत ये तीनों चीजों जो है ये रोजगार के माध्यम भी भारतीय संस्कृति में बहुत शुरू से रहे। लेकिन मेरा कहना सिर्फ इतना है फे कि आज जो ऑप्शन आप बोल रही हैं वो क्या है कि अगर कोई डांसर्स के साथ कोई आदमी उसकी मर्जी के विपरीत उसको टच करता है या उसके साथ डांस करने की कोशिश करता है, उसके पकड़ करके, तो ये ऑप्शन है। इस तरह की चीजों को परमिट नहीं किया जाना चाहिए। उसको लेकर करके निश्चित तौर पे कोई वुमेन डिग्निटी जहां प्रभावित होती हो, आर्ट को आप निश्चित तौर पे अपने रोजगार का माध्यम बनाइए, लेकिन अपने शरीर को अपने रोजगार का माध्यम बनाइए। मुझे शायद ये अच्छा नहीं लग रहा, और इसलिए मैं बोल रहा हूं कि कुछ चीजों में जरूर निश्चित तौर पे इसमें बाइंडिंग्स होनी चाहिए। जैसे आपको टच करने का अनुमति नहीं होना चाहिए,
वैसे अनुमति नहीं है अभी, कोर्ट ने मना किया।
There are always bouncers who will step in the moment the woman is the center of unwelcome attention.
In fact, court has banned, Mr. Mishra, just to bring you up to speed. No, there is no touching. There is no throwing of money. They can discreetly, in fact, give the tip to the dancer, whoever they want to individually give the tip. They will not give the tip, in fact, to the organization. So you're preventing exploitation there as well, to make sure that the money reaches the dancer herself. So there are some measures that have been taken.
In fact, in the earlier ruling, the government had said that they will have an enclosed space for them to dance.
Yes, यही मैं बोलने जा रहा था कि एक स्पेशल उनका एक स्पेस होना चाहिए जहां पर वो डांस करें। अगर आप आर्ट के इतने ही कद्रदान हो तो आप उनके उस आर्ट को देख करके पैसा दो ना। आप क्यों चाहते हो कि वो आपके बगल में आके डांस करें, आपके बगल में बैठ करके डांस करें? ये आप क्यों चाहते हो? अगर आप आर्ट के कद्रदान हो तो स्टेज पर भी डांस कर रही है तो आप आर्ट को कद्र करो ना। मेरा ये कहना है कि कुछ न कुछ देखो, हमारा ये ये नहीं है, आर्ट है, आर्ट को आप निश्चित तौर पे अपने रोजगार का माध्यम बनाइए, हर जगह लोग बना रहे हैं। और रही बात बॉलीवुड की ना, तो मैं तो बोलता हूं बॉलीवुड में तो आज ये हालात है कि एक तरफ आप शराब के प्रचार पे बैन लगाते हो और दूसरी तरफ 4 बोतल वोदका का वहां पर गाना चलता है, और वहां पर जो वोमेन को जिस इनडिसेंट वे में दिखाने का प्रयास किया जाता है, ये भी वोमेन डिग्निटी के बहुत ही खिलाफ है। अगर आप देखने जाओ तो बॉलीवुड के जो डांसेस हैं उसमें आप कॉस्ट्यूम अगर देखो वुमेन्स का, तो आपको लगेगा कि वो तो डांस बार में कभी अवेलेबल ही नहीं हो सकता।
Mr. Deshmukh has a point to make. Mr. Deshmukh from the NCP. Go ahead, please.
मैम, एक सबसे बड़ी बात है
जी,
कुछ दिन पहले सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने डिसीजन दिया था कि 500 मीटर के डिस्टेंस पर 500 मीटर के डिस्टेंस पर मतलब
बार नहीं होनी चाहिए,
वाइन शॉप्स,
Yes.
बार्स, उनको बंदी होनी चाहिए। ये गवर्नमेंट ने उस टाइम यही बार्स, होटल ओनर्स, उनके दबाव के बाद वो डिसीजन के खिलाफ सुप्रीम कोर्ट में एप्लीकेशन दिया और वो रिवर्ट कर दिया। अभी ये भी ऐसा है, ये गवर्नमेंट जो है खाली इसी लॉबी के लिए काम करती है क्या, मुझे क्वेश्चन आ रहा है सबसे बड़ा बात। और ये खाली वो कैसे नाचती है, क्या करती है, उसका सवाल नहीं है। ये महाराष्ट्र के हेल्थ के लिए कितना बुरा है ये भी हमने देखना चाहिए। जो एरिया में लोग रहते हैं, उनके आजू बाजू में रहने वाले जो लोग हैं, उनको रात को कितनी तकलीफ होती है, कितने इनलीगल लोग वहां रहते हैं, वहां जाते हैं, वहां जाके क्या क्या करते हैं, ये सभी बातें
कैसे तकलीफ होती है?
Sir, 24/7 people are selling cigarettes, and what did your government do when you were in power, or what is this government doing? Please don't make this. Look at speak to people at Tata Memorial. They tell you the number of people who are dying because of cigarettes is far larger. What are your governments ever done?
In fact, I want to bring in Mr. Khan here. Mr. Aftab Ahmed Khan is an IPS officer. Mr. Khan, respond to this. Illegal log, I'm not really sure what illegal log are, but I'm assuming people engaged in nefarious activity of one kind or the other. Are dance bars particularly hubs for this sort of activity? Or, like you said, does it now just happen under a tree in Versova? Shall we ban the trees in Versova?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. If you go to any of the wine shops, our gentleman feels that the local residents are disturbed. If you go to some of the wine shops, they open up to 11, 11:30, 12 in the night, and the residents are disturbed because people are standing outside the wine shops, on parking their two-wheelers and cars and picking up bottles and drinking them. There is no such thing. As I said, we had done a lot of study at that time. Most of the dancers, mind you, were women who were dependent on this profession. And it was much preferable that they would depend on this profession and do something about it instead of going into prostitution and degrading activity, which our friend doesn't seem to understand because they've never been out in the field. They were sitting in the cloister of a Mantralaya office and pronouncing judgments. There is no such thing as illegal people or legal people going in, whatever it may mean. But the fact remains that people went, criminals went, traveling salesmen went, respectable people went. In fact, I know that there was a chap, the main accused in the bomb blast, Memon, Tiger Memon. He was a big frequenter of dance bars because before he suddenly turned religious. And that man used to fling money, he used to maintain some dance girls in apartment and all that. But then he'd get drunk and he'd blurt out so much that we'd get a lot of information about rascals like him and other criminals who'd come there. Because the moment they drank too much, they'd loosen their tongues. And they would talk about what they were planning to do and what they'd done, sort of boasting to these women to impress them. And that was a great relief to us. Instead of putting, like R.R. Patil put, the entire police force is shutting down dance bars away from the roles of patrolling the streets. You have policemen.
Okay.
You can always find a social service branch or one of the branches to go and visit these bars.
I don't believe we make enough films about the Mumbai police. The Mumbai police
is
so cool. All right, Rahul Ishwar has a point to make. Rahul Ishwar, go ahead.
Supreme Court give the permission.
Yes.
Supreme Court give the permission. It would be a great service to our nation.
No, gentlemen, one at a time. Rahul Ishwar, please. Could we just hear
It would be a great service to India.
So, Rahul Ishwar, would you repeat what you said? I'm sorry, we missed that.
So be it. But having said that, commodification of women, commercialization of sexuality and sexploitation is what is happening in dance bars, and we all know it. And these are gateways to prostitution. India is a nation where prostitution has some legal obstacles on it. And that is all because of a cultural framework. We are, I'm sorry to take names of nations like, say, Thailand, where sex tourism is promoted. And they also believe the same economic rationale is given, saying that this will bring money. Our nation is different. हमारे एक सभ्यता है, एक संस्कार है. And in our history, we had issues. And we have overcome that kind of issues. And we have overcome that kind of issues and upheld the family system, the ethical framework system that we had. And please remember,
but just to give Rahul Ishwar and the rest of our audience, some sort of perspective. Rahul Ishwar, have you watched the film Shootout in Lokhandwala?
Yeah, of course, yes.
A.A. Khan, portrayed in that film, who got his tip off from a dance bar, is sitting on the panel right now. He was the police officer who was just speaking. So he really, I just want to point out, he really knows what he's talking about when he talks about crime and other things. But let's again address the point that you raised. Pradeep, I'll come to you immediately after this. The point of Indian culture, again, Yogesh, this burden unfortunately is going to fall on you. How old is the history of, in our country, of A, prostitution, B, dance girls? The British term Nach girl came from the Indian term Nachne wali. So how old is that in our culture?
Well, I mean, if you go from time immemorial, right from our mythology downwards, you will notice references to it. But I'm not going to go so back in time. The current dispensation does a better job of. But I'm just going to talk about what happened when the Portuguese left Bombay and then the British took over. Around that time, because there were a lot of soldiers and their sailors who would come to Bombay, and they wanted an outlet for sex. So which is why the red light area was set up. But when we attained independence and the Bombay presidency came up, Morarji Desai, the first chief minister, had a crackdown, and one of the first things he decided was that, he said, let's demolish all these buildings and throw these women out. There was nothing like an alternative created. So, and if you notice that this was coming from that whole puritanical, patriarchal way of looking at these women, and as there's something that needs to be thrown out of society, and that is the stance that we see continuously. What that did was, just like when you take a water-filled balloon and press it and it comes out from the other side, that's what happened was it started spreading to the chawls in the neighborhood and soon to other areas within the city, that you started seeing people taking their sex work too. And that's what led to all the corruption, the bribes, all those rackets being set up. That's what it started with. The British actually had a system that these women would, before doing sex work, get a permit. Each of these permits would only be renewed after every 6 months. They went a health check to ensure that they were disease-free. There was also a check to see that there was no exploitative paradigm involved. So in that sense, I'm not trying to eulogize the British, but I'm just saying that there was a system in place and we could do well to revisit it and look at how that could be followed again.
So this is exactly what Rajiv Mishra was saying. It is possible through the framework, through rules, to make sure that these women are treated with respect and they're not being exploited. I think, and I agree with you, the Supreme Court's suggestion that they all be given contracts, they all be given payments, and they be paid as per the contract will ensure that they don't have a sort of agent who's taking away a large part of their earnings. Neeta Kudwa is on the phone line from Mumbai. Neeta, go ahead, please.
Faye, my name is Neeta Kudwa.
Yes. Good evening.
And
go ahead.
yes, at the very outset, let me tell you that I'm a free-thinking woman, and I'm not talking from a prudish point of view. Okay.
Okay.
Well, number one, I'd like to say that you do have an ex-police official on your panel today. Am I right, Mr. Khan?
Yes.
Well, there were a lot of police officials that were involved in the funding of these bars, and that's a very important issue.
Okay. Corruption.
So that's something, yes, because they had invested in these dance bars. I think that's a very important question that needs to be addressed.
Okay.
Secondly,
yes. Okay. Go ahead, please.
If a woman wants to earn her livelihood in prostitution or whatever, if it's her free will and she wants to do it, we have to provide the best situation possible for her. But if you ask me about these dance bars, for sure, they are dens of vice. Okay? Nothing but that. I'm a filmmaker. I come from a very strong background of Indian classical music and dance. I've heard one of your panelists, talking about the Nautch girls, the Nachne Walis. Well, let me tell you that some of our best dance forms have emerged from such a tradition. Now, these dance bars, the girls do not require any skill at all. All they need to do is go there and, swing their hips, swing their head,
No skill.
pin their hair,
Yes.
and they're making money.
Okay, all right. We seem to have lost that connection, but basically this is what she said. Corruption of the police involved in bars, dens of vice, and no skill to speak of the women who dance there. All right, Pradeep Deshmukh, go ahead.
Ma'am, my main question is that if the Supreme Court give the permission for the dance bars, now the BJP government will start the dance bars in Gujarat, Jamnagar, Baroda and other than cities in the Maharashtra. It's very dangerous.
Okay, last couple of points. Go ahead, Rajiv Mishra.
फिर एक बात मैं बोलता हूँ, जो लोग ये कह रहे हैं कि डांस बार से देह व्यापार का धंधा बढ़ता है, मैं इससे असहमत नहीं हूँ। मैंने जो अनुभव किया है या मुझे जो कुछ लोगों से मैंने जो रिसर्च किया है उस पर मैं बता रहा हूँ कि डांस बार जो है वो देह व्यापार से औरतों को प्रोटेक्ट करता है। मेरा ऐसा मानना है, क्योंकि वहाँ पर क्या है, वो अपना आर्ट बेचती हैं, वो अपना शरीर नहीं बेचती। तो वो एक बड़ा बात है। जो ये जो चल रहा है कि नहीं डांस बार से देह व्यापार बढ़ता है, ये मैं नहीं मानता हूँ, बल्कि डांस बार बंद होने से देह व्यापार ज्यादा बढ़ा था। और जो वेटर सर्विसेज हैं, जहां पर कि लड़कियों को बार में वेटर सर्विस के अंतर्गत लगाया जाता, वहां देह व्यापार ज्यादा बढ़ा था, क्योंकि उनके पास बेचने के लिए अपना आर्ट नहीं होता था। अभी ये क्या होता है कि डांस बार में कम से कम इतना तो सेफ्टी है कि वो अपना आर्ट बेच सकती है, अपना शरीर नहीं। तो वो एक, मैं इस बात से थोड़ा कन्विंस नहीं था, इसलिए मैं ये बात आपके सामने रख रहा हूं।
Yes,
I wanted to quickly give a rejoinder to what the NCP person is saying, that you cannot get up and say, try to make a political brownie point over this, saying what this government is, whether it will start it in a dry state or not, because today we are not debating that, and that is not the question. We are looking at a woman's agency over her body, her livelihood, her decision and what she wants to do with herself, and that is what we need to keep the agenda on. This whole idea of trying to keep on trying to, because what your government did and what R.R. Patil did has also come in for very, very sharp criticism, and it came under the glare, both media and the courts. So please don't start that here, please, sir.
Well, Mr. A. Khan, the question that our viewer raised about corruption of police involved with these bars, do you want to address that question?
Very frankly, whenever a prudent minister, whether it was Morarji Desai or R.R. Patil, passed a law which inhibits the natural instincts of people, whenever the people are made to do on moral grounds whatever the government or whoever is the minister wants them to do, without allowing them to do what they would like to do within a reasonable limit. When the prohibition was imposed in Maharashtra, that was one of the most stupid acts ever taken. It led to creation of a prohibition cell. We had prohibition police. In Mumbai, we had a deputy commissioner in charge of prohibition. It was, very frankly, I was a deputy commissioner in charge of a zone, one of the most corrupt police forces, departments of the police force. It was disgusting to see the amount of money they were making merely by allowing liquor, distilling of liquor to flourish and making money out of it. Same thing when prostitution was banned. It went on to residential area, it went into hiding. It is much better that you have avenues for people to enjoy themselves, let's say, and have a kind of a restriction. As I told you earlier, we have a social security branch which can be made to visit these bars, ensure that there's no exploitation, there's no obscenity, and that women are not manhandled. So that this kind of a thing. Let me tell you, we had taken the complaint of a bar dancer who was molested on her way back from home. I think she was from Bakola. And the story she gave us was shocking. She was a single bread earner in a family of 5, 8 aged parents and 2 children, and deserted by her husband, only by bar dancing. And she was anxious to go back to the children. So it was not that she was prostituting. Only for the tips and the pay she got, She was supporting a whole family.
Yes,
Now,
yes,
where is
Mr.
the
Khan,
question
Mr. Khan,
of,
forgive me for
exploitation of
interrupting
women?
you, but
Women were-
we have to leave the debate here, and we will come back to this topic. But I just want to point out that political parties, particularly, were extremely concerned with the exploitation of women in this line of business. Should have or could start now. Actually training them for other vocations, finding them other jobs, making sure that they have all access to legal services, access to help that they will need in order to fight for their rights and to make sure they're not taken advantage of. And as soon as they get other options and other jobs, they will stop dancing for a living. That's a better way to solve the problem rather than to just run them out of the profession and to shut the places down. We keep a close eye on this for you.